chromium machines to kill a master of magnetism. No wonder we call ourselves Homo superior. Any species this stupid deserves its little free fall down the food chain.
Welcome back to Fernando Comics, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the less known abilities of Magneto. A fairly common misconception about Magneto's powers is that he controls metal. And while Magneto certainly does control metal, what he actually has control over is the electromagnetic field around him. Any electromagnetic field. And because of that, he's able to do some absolutely insane things. Every now and then you run into these characters who are so strong and so versatile that it's difficult to have them have actual credible threats to them. Both companies, Marvel and DC, have these characters. Marvel has Thor, who has to be constantly nerfed if you want to have him have, regular threats. And DC, of course, has Superman, who needs to be constantly nerfed, or otherwise no one would hit him, and he'd sense everything, and he's smarter than everyone, etc. And Magneto falls into that category as well. And by the end of this video, hopefully you see why. So right off the bat, let's start off with Magneto's baseline defenses. His helmet completely blocks out psychic attacks, even from Professor X. This is really important for a character who's constantly fighting mutants who have psychic powers, no less. He's got the helmet to protect his mind, but to protect his body, he has a constant force field around him, an electromagnetic force field that prevents even dust particles from getting inside of his lungs. But his force field is tough enough at its base to be able to shrug off what I would call a standard blow from Thor. Right off the bat, that eliminates a lot of characters from even being able to touch Magneto. But the good thing about all this is that, despite having some heavy defenses both for his mind and his body, he's not actually that strong, right? Most mutants have a little bit of an amp, even if they have mostly physical stats, that let them be what would be considered above human. Magneto would fall within that category, where he's definitely stronger than any human. He would beat any of us up for sure. Unless some of you happen to be built different. You guys let me know in the comments if you are. But as far as Marvel Comics goes, he's not going to really beat anyone who has some legitimate super strength. Like Captain America would bully him for sure. So good, we have a weakness for him. Except we certainly don't, because he can use the electromagnetic fields around him to boost his physical stats. And if the Earth's field isn't enough to make him as strong as he needs to be, he can go to other fields, like the sun's. And now, the power surrounding the sun has turned him into a legitimate physical threat to pretty much anyone. If for some reason, though, Magneto feels like he doesn't want to have a physical confrontation with someone, he's got a lot of options. For instance, Magneto can instantly throw someone Mach 12. Forget someone going 0 to 100. We're talking someone standing still to being flung 12 times the speed of sound. If Magneto does not take the precautions to make sure that you survive that, most characters will have their organs detached from the inside, or turned into a disoriented pile of mush. He certainly doesn't have to do something that dramatic, though, if he doesn't want to. You see, if he also wants to, he can simply produce so much power in his surroundings that he reverses gravity. This is the same kind of power that he uses to stop natural disasters. He can produce volcanic eruptions, he can stop earthquakes, and he can make you weightless if he feels like it. Not directly grabbing onto you, he is reversing gravity. That automatically puts any character who cannot fly out of commission. There's also no way to really block against Magneto if he feels like it. It doesn't matter how tough you are, because he can sharpen metal to such an extent that he can slip it into your body through your cells if he has to. Magneto can and has created edges that are compared to nano edges. And what happens when he puts metal into your body? Well, he can pinball that metal all around you or shatter you from the inside, do essentially what he likes. Of course, he doesn't actually need to get metal in anyone. We have trace amounts of metal inside of our body, and Magneto has coalesced that before inside of people's bodies. Once he does that, he can forcibly rip it out, which he has. And because Magneto can control what's inside us, he's got the ability to do some very versatile attacks on people. For instance, he can directly control us through our blood. And because of that, strength really doesn't come into the picture. There's no resisting Magneto's attacks. You cannot force your way through them. He demonstrated that by repulsing Hercules, by moving the iron in his blood. Hercules could not fight back against this attack. And Hercules would certainly have top tier strength in Marvel, and even in DC, he is one of the peak physical strength characters out there. But as we're starting to realize together, Magneto doesn't really care. He has a lot of abilities that simply do not give you a chance to fight back against. And just like he can fling people around like a puppet or rip out the iron in their blood, he can induce strokes. He can give heart attacks, he can mind control people, he can erase your consciousness through your blood, and then just puppet your body if he wants to. And he can just blow people up if he wants to. He points and people explode. So we're dealing with a character whose mind cannot be attacked, even by the strongest of mutants. He's got a force field on him at all times that can passively block attacks from Thor, at least hammer swings. He can punch it out with pretty much anyone he wants to using electromagnetic fields around him. Or much more easily, he can Swiss cheese pretty much anyone by sharpening metal and then using it as a weapon. Totally independent of how durable someone is, because he can sharpen it to such an extent that it slips through cells in the body. He can point at people and make them stroke by controlling the blood inside of them. He can turn them into puppets and fling them around if he feels like it, or make them fight for him. And if he doesn't want to look at you, he can throw you into space faster than the human mind can register what happened to them. So how does anyone beat him? Well, you would need a lot of prep time. You need to put him in a room where he cannot affect the surroundings around him. Cover yourself in material that does not let him affect your body. And then try to engage him in his base stats, say like how Black Panther did. And that should do the trick. Except it didn't, because he can also just point and magnetize things if he wants to. You can't block the Earth's electromagnetic field, you guys. Not from Magneto. He's gonna use it, and he's gonna magnetize things that can't be magnetized because he feels like it. That's what Black Panther discovered after thinking he had Magneto on the ropes, and now he's been suffocated with objects that he did not think were magnetic. And the X-Men are very lucky that he did not feel like Swiss cheesing them during his angsty Brotherhood of Evil Mutant days. Seriously, the mutations in Marvel are not spread equally. Angel got wings, and he used them to fight Magneto. Like, what a kick in the teeth, am I right? Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for sticking around to the end. We'll do this again sometime. See ya.